Shut your mouth, broadcasting. First round draft pick. Believe we got stats, kid. Quarterback sacking, 100-yard dashing. So tap in for the action. What teams got traction? What teams are losing? Franchises ruined. Fans in the stand booing.
Welcome to the Sim Podcast Show. I'm your co-host Sirik, and I'm always joined by my co-host Ron. What up, Ron?
What is going on?
You know what we do? We talk about the National Football League on a weekly basis, including the playoffs. If this is something that you're interested in, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that notification button so you know when our videos come out, and hit the like button because it helps us a lot. Ron, we just had the conference championship game. Ron, how do you feel about these games?
The games were okay themselves. The first game was a bit of a dud. But I'm excited about the teams at the end that are going to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, this was, the first game was disappointing, but the second game, and we'll talk about it because that game had everything that you could possibly ask for in the championship game. Bad referees, good defense, good offense, even how they handle the clock, everything. What I was going to say is we're going to talk about the news, we're going to talk about the Pro Bowl, and we're going to talk about our final score. I finally took the time, Ron, and tallied up, and you're going to be shocked at this final score. I know you are.
Well, let's see.
We will see. So
I know I was terrible down towards the end, so.
There was there was 1 week where you shot blank. You didn't get one game right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it when we do the tally. But first, let's talk about the NFL news, and let's talk about your boy Brian Flores, because he's had a lot of interviews for a head coach, and he hasn't landed a spot. So, Ron, what's your opinion on this? Why is he getting the talk to the hand treatment?
I don't know. I think he's been on at least 6 interviews, some for head coaching positions, some for offensive coordinator positions, which would be a promotion from what he's doing now. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. On one end, it's good that he's getting interviews, but I don't know. This part of me is telling me, are these just like token interviews and they have no intention on hiring you whatsoever? Because we know he deserves to be a head coach in the NFL.
So I know that they have that Rooney Rule where you have to at least, have a black candidate come in and interview for the role. So is he the token black guy where they just playing him around just to appease the rule, basically?
I don't know. I don't know if there's legitimate interest in bringing him in. You would think before you even get an interview, right? You'd run that with the owner of those teams. But he's interviewed with Atlanta, I think Arizona, coordinator position, I believe, in Carolina at one point. So I don't know if it's being ran up to the chain to the owner's level and they're saying no, or if they're just bringing them in because they're not really interested. And I don't know what the situation is.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Why? And he still has a lawsuit against the NFL. So maybe the owners don't want to touch him until that lawsuit is settled, and they just. And
that's what I'm wondering. That's what one part of me is saying. But hey, if he doesn't get a job, he'll always have a option on the Steelers, and that's a win for us. So I just hope it works out for him, though, because I think he deserves to be a coach in the league. A head coach. A head coach, for sure. I mean, he did pretty good in Miami. There was no reason to get rid of him. And, I mean, is Miami better by getting rid of him? That's questionable because I guess the Mike McDaniels brought the best out of Tua, but he's still a good coach. So we're going from Brian Flores not getting a head coach to these 3 teams getting a head coach. And we know with Carolina, they were going with Frank Reich. Is that a good hire, though? I don't know. I mean, it's a retread, right? So, I don't think anyone, let me just say this about Frank Reich, because he was at the Colts before, right? I I don't think anyone can succeed for that owner of the Colts. Has the coach or have the Colts even hired anyone yet?
I think that position's still open.
Yeah, so they still got Saturday as one of the top options. So that in itself should tell you the Colts is not a well-run organization. So I don't know how much you can tell from his time there in Indianapolis, but he got another opportunity, which is good. We'll see how it works.
So you think, is he gonna keep Sam Darnold there, or is he gonna draft a new QB?
They're looking to build, based on their comments, right? They're looking for a franchise quarterback. Someone will be there for the next 10 years. So I think that's the number one priority. And they didn't say for sure they're going to look, to get someone in the draft. And it's going to be someone that they find this year necessarily. It may be a process to get there. But long story short, whoever is their quarterback, it's either going to be a rookie that they draft or someone that's just going to be a placeholder until they find the right person.
The other place, and we just found out today, basically, before we started recording, Houston and Denver. Denver got Sean Payton, but it wasn't their first choice, right?
Depending on who you hear the reports from. So, according to who's the guy on the NFL?
Ian Rappaport.
Yeah. They wanted D'Amico Ryans, and D'Amico may have had 2 interviews there, and he decided to go with the Houston job instead, which is to me is questionable also. But and part of me thinks, okay, Sean Payton's a great coach, but they obviously had to give up something to get him to. So they're giving up the first round picks, and I think they're swapping another pick or something like that in order to get Sean Payton. So that's probably part of it as well.
And I didn't even think that Denver had any first round picks. I thought they gave them all away to Seattle for that Wilson trade. So which one do you think is going to do better, Denver or Houston?
Wow. Well, I really like D'Amico Ryans, and I believe his contract is like a 6-year contract. I might have read that incorrectly, but it looks like if that's the case, they're looking like a long term. Okay, they understand this is not a quick fix. No one can go in there and fix the Texans right away. I'm hoping it works out for him. I know as a black coach, though, owners usually don't give you
6 years.
6 years and expect you to stay that long. They may say, 1-2 years is enough, and they may move on from him. So I'm hoping in that sense that they're patient with him, because that team there's a lack of talent on the Texans. So they got a long ways to go in terms of drafting players, bringing free agents in, that sort of stuff. Now with Sean Payton, he's obviously had success already. He's had the luxury of having Drew Brees. I think he can have some success with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know if that automatically puts them in the playoffs, but I think that they had a pretty good defense at Denver anyways, and their offense was just terrible. I mean, we remember those Thursday night games. We were like, why are they even playing this game? This is a horrific game. And then I know that Hackett then went to the Jets, which, I don't know. It's just a toss-up. You saw him struggle at Denver, and now he's your OC in the New York Jets. It's just terrible, terrible hire. But I think Sean Payton is going to have success real quick, because I think the owners have deep pockets, and, anybody that they want to overpay, they're going to get. So I definitely envision Denver being over the salary cap every year, because they can afford that. So,
well, you can't in the NFL be over the cap. You have to be.
Well, you pay a luxury tax, right, when you go over the cap?
Not in the NFL. No, you have to be under the cap. 224 million, I think, under the cap for the next year.
2023, Denver has to be under that cap.
Yeah. So by the time the new year starts and the season starts, you trim your roster all the way down to your final 46, I think it is. You have to be under that cap.
Well, we know that with Denver, they're going to be right at the cap.
Yeah, and they probably were last year with that Russell Wilson deal. They got some young receivers, but I'm sure with that Russell Wilson deal, they were probably close to it anyways.
The other news that we want to talk about is the Pro Bowl roster, because we were just discussing it. I know that it's going to be flag football, but I mean, why is Huntley as a replacement? That's what I want to know. He only had 2 touchdowns the whole entire year. Why is he a replacement?
It's getting to the point where it's just ridiculous. I don't know. We were talking before. We don't know what the process looks like. If they're asking players, they're going down in order, say, okay, you deserve to go, and they turn it down. Obviously, there's the issue with players that are in the playoffs and will most likely say no, or players that are hurt will say no for sure. But the fact that you're down to Huntley playing, I think is just ridiculous. This guy who's not really a starter, didn't play well when he was playing to begin with. Countless other quarterbacks that you could have went to ahead of him, guys that may not have had great numbers, but obviously played all the games and are legitimate starters. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense, and I know that some of these contracts have stipulation that if you make the Pro Bowl, you get some kind of incentive.
Yeah.
So there's no way that people are leaving money on the table. So it just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense to me. Tyler Huntley in the playoffs, and then when you look at the NFC, I can understand Jalen Hurts because he's in the playoffs, but then the replacement, Jared Goff, I think he's more deserving, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's more deserving, so that I can understand. Huntley just puzzles me to no end. Why is he there? And then I think the NFC did a little bit better in the replacements. McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, that's a replacement. Then you get St. Brown as a replacement. So that it actually makes sense because these are the best players on their respective teams, right? Mm-hmm. But this is a vote done by the players, the coaches, and the fans.
Mm-hmm.
But then after they get excused for whatever reason, how does that process work? Do they call people? Do they just say, "Hey, we need you because we're short"? I don't know how this works.
Yeah, I don't either. But I get the sense it's almost like Hard Knocks, where they just go around and ask teams, "Hey, do you want to be on Hard Knocks?" And everyone basically says no. So I don't know. It doesn't make sense, like I said. And we're talking about guys who got shunned. Steelers had basically a couple players that should have probably been in it. With Freiermuth not getting the nod, they went with Knox instead from Buffalo. And then Alex Highsmith with 14.5 sacks, not getting in when TJ turned down the spot. So again, I don't know how they do it. I don't get that at all.
So, like I mentioned earlier, do you think the Pro Bowl, even though it's gotten down to like the flag football now, should they even play it at all? It should just be like, hey, who was the best player this year? Here's a list. And I don't know if the players even show up. It's just a list. They put it out. And then if you want to participate in what they call the games, you can, but there's not going to be a Pro Bowl game.
There shouldn't be a Pro Bowl game. I don't even want to see flag football. I know some people probably want to see flag, but I don't even want to see that. There should be a list, but it should not be. I would want a committee. Maybe and they probably used to do this back in the days. I don't want fans voting for Pro Bowls, right? There's no way TJ Watt should have been in it. Arguably the best defensive player in the league. but you can't miss half the season and be in the Pro Bowl. So I think you need a committee to say, okay, who are the best players this year only, not the best players overall, but just based on their performance this year, who deserves to be in it. Those are the guys that make it. And again, we're not playing a game, so it doesn't really matter. But here are the folks that were voted into the Pro Bowl for this year, and those are the folks that should get incentives, if you will, financial incentives. But the game itself, I wouldn't play the game. I would like to see, back in the days when they used to have like 40-yard sprints and stuff like that, weightlifting competitions, so you could bench the most. I wouldn't mind watching something like that, but I don't need to see guys running around in shorts with a flag.
Yeah, they actually have a league where you can actually do that. When we were working for that company and we did like a flag football league, you can just participate. Don't even need to watch the best players do the flag football. You can participate. So it's like, I don't know. This is so weird. I know the NFL is just doing this to make money. They sell tickets, come down. We got lots of stuff to do. That's fine. I'm all for it. If you want to make a weekend out of it, I'm all for it. But don't jigabug us like this. And I don't know. This is so strange.
Yeah.
Because you can't really compare it to the NBA. You can't really compare it. Even though the NBA's gotten there almost to the point. But you can't really compare it to the MLB because at least the players, they give, even though it's not 100%, they give something. And it's not, they're not going to get hurt. With the NFL, it's just weird how they do it. And that's probably enough with the Pro Bowl and the whole Pro Bowl thing.
Yeah.
All right. So do you want to hear the final score for the 18 weeks now, or do you want to do it afterward?
Let's wait till afterwards because these games count, right? Or no?
What do you mean these games count?
Did this count towards the final?
No, not the playoffs. I haven't tallied out the playoffs.
Okay.
This is just the regular season.
Let's still go through the playoffs. What we thought of last week, and then we can go back to the tally for the year.
All right, we'll include the Super Bowl then. So let's go into the Championship Sunday. You had the first game, which was San Francisco at Philadelphia. Philly was favored by 2.5 points. It was a 46 over and under. Ron, you predicted Philly to win 20-23. I predicted them to win 28-17. The final score was 7-31. Ron, this was the disappointing game. What happened? If you are a 49ers fan, right? Let me just put it in this let's phrase it this way. If you're a 49ers fan, you paid $2,000 for your ticket. You paid maybe $600 for a round trip. The hotel, you paid maybe $300 for 2 nights, whatever, 1 night. Then the food. So now you're probably up to 5 G's. Just one person. Forget about your buddy. So you spend 5 G's. You go to this game in Philadelphia. What happened?
You left disappointed. You're in the game disappointed as soon as Brock Purdy got hurt and he got taken out of the game. And then to be there with Josh Johnson, you even if you had a good team, and honestly, I thought it was, San Francisco, they have a good team. I don't know if they were the better team regardless. Philly has a really good team and they played like it the entire season. But you're obviously disappointed that you had to go to Josh Johnson. He gets concussed. And I saw that when I saw the hit, I knew right away. I was like, this dude, he's done. Before they even said, okay, they're going to take a look at him, I saw the way he went down. I was like, he's done. Now what are they doing? And, they go back to Brock Purdy and he can't even throw. That ain't good. That's not a good look. And that's actually, I think that's going to lead to some rule changes for next year, roster changes. And this is something I think I brought up a while ago on a previous podcast. teams need to go in today with 3 quarterbacks, like 2 and an emergency quarterback that you can put in.
You say 3. I think that they need to have 4. Like maybe not one that's dressed for the game, but he should be ready. If he sees the 2 quarterbacks down, he should be running to the dressing room and be like, oh, by the way, refs, we have to put our emergency quarterback on standby.
Look how often it's happened this year where both quarterbacks have been knocked out. I can think of like obviously the Dolphins experienced that. I think Baltimore at one point had that happen to them. And now in this, championship game, this happens and you don't have another quarterback you can bring in. I think it's a bad look for the NFL. They need to do something to fix it. And I'm not saying if you would have a third quarterback that you're going to come out winning the game, but to be stuck where you can't even throw the ball at all because your guy has a torn ligament in his elbow and he can't throw at all. That's just insane to me.
Because Ron, look at this. I'm just going to read you some quick numbers from the stats of the game. San Francisco passing 83 yards total. San Francisco rushing 81 yards total. I know that the score after when the Putty get hurt, like the first quarter or second quarter?
It was the first quarter.
The first quarter, the score was 7-0. So they kind of had a chance with Josh Johnson. Then he came in. He also got hurt in the second quarter, right?
I think so.
So it was, and by that halftime, it was 7-21 Philadelphia. When I don't know what happened at halftime. Well, I can speculate what happened, but basically Kyle Shanahan was like, look, guys, we're not going to be able to pass the ball for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So we're going to have you run the ball the whole time. And then this is what happened with the Phillies locker room. Hey, guys, if we don't win this game, because this is basically somebody playing with their one hand tied behind their back, we're a bad team. And what happened? It was, Philadelphia only put 10 points in the second half, but I feel like all they needed to do was run out the clock, basically.
Yeah.
The score could have remained 21-7 and they would have won the game. They didn't need those extra 10 points, but it was total domination in as far as running the ball, because Philadelphia 148 yards. I think everyone got into it, but Jalen Hurts didn't even have to pass the ball that much. Mm-hmm. It was just, hey guys, let's run out the clock. This team doesn't have any way to beat us because there's no way that you can get the ball to Debo. I know that Kyle Shanahan got creative and was trying to give the ball to Debo as a running back, but then you have Kittle who has no chance of getting the ball because they can't throw it to him. So it's like, I honestly feel bad for San Francisco because they could have given the Eagles a run for the money and they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Yeah, and I'm reading this. It looks like Johnson was actually hurt in the third quarter, but even still, your second string guys, and this probably goes back, this has a little bit to do with coaching. Your second string quarterback is probably not ready. He hasn't taken any snaps at all. I think that needs to change too. NFL teams need to adjust their practice habits so that second team quarterbacks in an emergency situation can go in and with the same game plan and compete if they need to. It didn't look like Josh Johnson was ready at all when he was in there. And then when he gets hurt, again, you don't have another quarterback that's dressed that you can put in. That's just something that needs to be changed for all teams next year, I think. And we'll see if they address that in the offseason.
Yeah, and there was the only thing that I would pick out of Philadelphia in this game was there was some turnovers, some fumbles that I was like, you need to clean that up if you're gonna.
Yeah, I think lost in all of this, and I know we're not going to do our prediction for Super Bowl yet. I think we're going to wait till next week. But lost in all this is that Philadelphia offense, it took a while for them to say, okay, let's stop playing around, let's get it going. And Jalen Hurts did not. This is probably one of his worst games that I've seen this year. It looks like he looked in this game like he did last year when he was in the playoffs against Tampa. He was just missing throws. He missed a deep ball to A.J. Brown that should have been a touchdown. Some of the completions were just like low, didn't give the receivers time to really run and do anything with it. So he didn't look that good either. So he needs to play. He needs to be like how he was the entire season for them to win the Super Bowl. So they have a lot, like you said, of things they need to clean up, even, with a 31-7 win this week.
But I think Jalen Hurts said himself that he's not 100%. So I cut him a little bit of slack on that. At least he's out there, even though he's not 100%, he's out there doing it. There's some stuff that it wasn't a perfect game by any means. And I think that they knew that, at least from the third quarter on. There's just some things like they need to clean up. But, overall, this game was kind of a letdown because San Francisco wasn't at 100% and they just couldn't use all their weapons. And yeah, it was kind of sad, but I do see Brock as maybe competing with Trey Lance next year. I don't see Jimmy G. There was a picture of Jimmy G laughing it up when they were losing.
Yeah, I'm not reading too much into that. I saw there were, I forget who called the game, but it was the tight end that was trying to
Olsen.
Trying to get Purdy to laugh, and Purdy was laughing during the game, right? They were trying to cheer him up. So I'm not reading anything into like a couple still shots that someone caught. Garoppolo's not going to be there next year, I don't think. Although I didn't think he was going to be there this year. But I do think it's going to come down to Purdy or Trey Lance. Now, there's an outside shot of Tom Brady going to San Francisco, or Aaron Rodgers, who's from California, from Northern California, going to San Francisco. So that, there's an outside possibility of one of those future Hall of Famers going there.
I don't want to even discuss Tom Brady because there was a picture of him visiting, I guess, Miami schools for his kids. People were just speculating, like, oh, he's gonna be a Dolphin for sure. I'm like, at this point, who knows where he's gonna land? He's just, like I say, he's just a paid mercenaries, and I think he'll just go to the best team that has everything outside except for a quarterback. So
that's San Francisco.
And that's San Francisco. I don't think Miami will. Miami might be without a running back because he's hitting the free agency. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. The other game, which was a prime time game, Cincinnati at Kansas City. I think the Bengals were favored, right, by 1.5. So what I'm saying,
I can't remember.
I don't know. One of these teams was favored. It was 47-point over and under. Ron, you went with Cincy 28-24. I also went with Cincy 24-17. The final score was 20-23. So this is a game that it just so many things happen. I don't know where to start. Ron, where do you start in this game?
For me, just missed opportunities for Cincinnati. Their offensive line was atrocious. Burrow got sacked 5 times. Looked like he was going to get sacked 10 times at one point. I didn't like the game plan for Cincinnati at all. Kansas City, I thought Mahomes played okay. I didn't think he was that great. He played pretty decent, but he obviously was hurt. I didn't like they didn't run the ball. Kansas City didn't as much as I thought they should have. And I think they got a little bit lucky at the end with that hit out of bounds that put them in field goal position, because outside of that, I thought, it was going to be a long field goal attempt, which most likely he wouldn't have made, and we're going to be heading to overtime.
Yeah, the running by both teams was kind of weird. I mean, 42 yards for Kansas City, 71 for Cincinnati. It was just kind of weird, and definitely Joe Burrow did not have a good game. I don't know if it was the offensive line.
Yeah, he was getting pressured.
But then, in the second half, they did the adjustment where he got rid of the ball fast. So those two interceptions, it was costly, right? Because one was at the beginning of the game, which gave Kansas City a short field, and then the other one was towards the end of the game, which you never want to do that no matter what. And 270 yards to 326. I think Patrick Mahomes did okay with playing with one leg because I didn't think that he was healthy enough.
You know, a bunch of like second, third, fourth string receivers out there too, because most of their receivers went down. I think at one point they only had 3 healthy receivers on their roster. So yeah, he played well. I think for Cincinnati, I'm a little bit disappointed with how they played, the adjustments that they made. It seemed like Kansas City was doubling Jamar Chase and Higgins, and the Bengals had no other options whatsoever. They couldn't figure out how to beat that. So,
I thought that they would run the ball more than they did. I mean, only 8 carries for Mixon. I thought he was going to get like in 15, maybe even 20. Because I thought they were going to at least try to control the game. But it looked like they wanted to like go score for score against Kansas City. And that's a recipe for disaster. I mean, although watching this game, there was one play by Andy Reid. I know that we talked about the ring around the rosy play, but out of nowhere in the first quarter, what is that hook and ladder play that almost like, why do you have to get all cute? So I saw that, right? And then I was like, has he always been this type of coach? So I turned to YouTube and I watched the Philadelphia Patriots playoff Super Bowl. And he didn't do any of that. It was just Donovan McNabb had a terrible, terrible game. Not bad game, but bad. So then I went back and I looked at the Patriots Kansas City championship game from like 2018. He didn't do any cute stuff like that. So I'm like, what is going on? Why did he choose this year to do like these crazy plays? Andy Reid.
I think he allows the players to improvise.
Yes.
Starting with Mahomes, obviously, because Mahomes is that talented, but he's allowing them to have fun. That's why they love him, right? That's why I think he's a great coach. They love to improvise. And now that play had Kelsey had a better pitch. Guy may have got like an extra 10 yards or so. I don't think he was scoring or anything.
But I don't think that play. What I'm saying is, I don't think that he needed to do that. Not in that situation. I think they were inside the 20, and I was like, just get the points. Why even get Q and all that? See, that's why I get mad if I was a Kansas City fan and I saw Andy Reid doing stuff like this with the players. I'd be like, why? Why are you doing that? What's the point? What are you trying to tell the rest of the NFL that you're a player's coach? I don't understand. The other thing that I noticed was the refs were bad.
Oh, the officiating. All playoffs, man. The whole entire season. It started with the season. Some questionable officiating, but into the playoffs, it's been terrible. And this game specifically.
This game was bad.
They do not, like, and I've said this, I think it was last week I said this, or I noticed it at least, is that they don't call, there's certain calls that they will never make against Kansas City. One, and they've called this up, like, I swear, 8 to 10 times on the Steelers, is the lineman downfield, right? You're allowed 2 yards. Kansas City gets away with this like every single game. They're like 3 yards down the field. Mahomes is holding on before he throws the ball. Your lineman's already downfield. They hardly ever call that, if ever, on Kansas City. And then this game specifically, there were some holding calls that were not called at all.
There was some holding calls. There was some roughing.
The hit on Burrow that should have been roughing. The official's right there.
The hit on Mixon, he was well out of bounds.
Yeah.
They didn't call that. So I don't know.
But it's been like this the whole season. The entire season's been terrible.
So are they swayed by the home crowd, or are they scripted? They go, you know what? Don't call this against the Chiefs ever, because we don't want the Chiefs are I don't want to say that they're the new Patriots, but they're overtaking the whole like crown as far as the NFL's favorite team.
I definitely think there's some players and some teams that get preferential treatment from the refs and the officials. Kansas City's one of them. Mahomes is one of them. And then at the same time, there's teams that, or there's games when the call should be blatant. You need to call it regardless. If it's obvious, throw the flag, right? You can't have people looking at this game and saying these officials are terrible, regardless of whoever is called on. It's just a bad look to me.
Yeah, I mean, and the whole thing with like at the end of the game, the players felt disrespected because what was it? Burrowhead Stadium instead of Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah,
like that is some locker room stuff that should be kept in house. You don't need to tell the public, hey, this is our place, not Joe Burrow's place. It's like, why? Just keep it in house. It's okay. Let it motivate you. You don't need to tell the whole world that you won. And, Cincinnati, are they going to be back? Yes. Will they have the same players? Probably not, because most of them are going to, you can't keep this group together, right?
Yeah, I don't know how long, so I don't know where Burrow is at.
He's still in his rookie contract.
So at some point, they'll look to resign him, and he's going to get paid. I think Mixon's contract might be up. I might be misremembering that, but at some point you gotta pay your star players, and we'll see how you adjust your roster to be able to do that. So but they'll be there. I expect Cincinnati to be one of the top teams in the AFC.
Yeah, I think
the next few years.
As long as they have Joe Burrow, I mean, he is clinical and he does pass the ball really well and all that stuff. He just needs to be protection. He's protecting me. 5 sacks compared to 3 sacks, and he was running for his life the whole game. So, yeah, and that was third string offensive tackles, third string guards. It's just, I'm sure Zach Thomas has a lot. Zach Taylor has a lot more in store for the future for the Bengals. As Kansas City, so now we have the Eagles against Kansas City in the Super Bowl. We don't do our picks till next week, but who has a better defense in your eyes?
Philly.
Who has a better offense?
Philly. I think Kansas City has the best quarterback, but when I look at offense collectively, Philly has the better players. I just don't know. Is Juju Smith and Kadarius Toney, are they hurt permanently, or are they gonna come? No, they're playing. I don't know how. I know Kadarius got hurt. I don't think it was that serious though.
I know it was a knee injury, so he had to pass it to Valdez Scantling. I think that.
Well, those guys aren't AJ Brown or what's his name?
Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm gonna give the Kansas City the better offense because they do have Andy Reid. I just don't know. This gonna come down to who's healthy, right? So it's like whoever's healthy. Those 2 weeks, will it matter? Yes, if you're from an injury standpoint, yes. 2 weeks does matter.
Yeah, and I'm looking up points per game. Would you believe both of these teams? 28.7. Exactly 28.7 points per game. So they're even.
They're even. They just do it in different ways. One is a running style, and the other one is by passing only. And I really like, I know Miles Sanders is going to be a free agent this upcoming year, but I like this Pacheco rookie. He runs hard. 5 carries. I know they were just kind of like, changing between him and McKinnon, but I mean, Pacheco, I think he's a pretty good runner. I think he might have got hit in the head at some point in that game, but yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not a Kansas City fan at all, but you can talk me leaning towards Kansas City because of the offense. But we know when it comes to the defense, when it comes to Super Bowl, it's the defense that matters, right? So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the week turns out, and then we'll talk about our Super Bowl picks. So we'll leave it at that. Ron, anything else that you want to add to this lovely in-between Pro Bowl week that we have coming up?
No, not really. Let's talk about our performance this year with our picks.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the final score. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. And I will add it somehow. I don't know. But Ron, you scored 40 out of 213 picks, and that accounts for 3 weeks that we didn't have. We had a bye for each team.
40, scored 40. Mean by I scored 40. So I had 40 right.
40 right. That is right.
Out of how many?
213.
Wow, that's terrible.
That is 53%.
That's not.
No, that's not. Sorry, that is 18%. Is that right? Yeah, 18% winning percent.
But did we have that many picks this year?
Yes. And
we just did our teams though, right?
We did our teams and Tampa and our upset special.
That's right. That's true.
4 picks a week. Times 18, that's 216, and then I subtracted 3 games for the bye. You know what my score was?
What?
40 points. So we tied.
Wow.
We tied. So the tiebreaker is going to be in the playoffs when I tally up the scores. I saved it so you can, check.
I'm going to check your math.
You can peer review it when you want to.
Yes. But I honestly think, it's not shocking because I know towards the end I was like, and most of the season I had no idea with Pittsburgh. I was picking like almost every Pittsburgh game wrong. So it's not shocking that I did that badly.
There was some weeks where we had one, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was 1 week where I
think we had like all the games right.
There was only one time where I actually had all 4 games right, and that was week 14. But then every other week, 2 points, 3 games. Yeah, it was not our best. What I want to say is our best pick, and I think that was because it was, first of all, New England was up and down. Pittsburgh was up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Both
Tampa
teams,
was up and down.
Tampa was up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all 3 teams didn't make the playoffs. If Tampa wasn't in such a terrible division,
yeah,
you can say that all 3 teams did not make them. So they were below 500. So of course we're gonna be below 500 because it was so bad. So yeah, it was not the best pick'ems, but it is what it is. Hopefully we do better in the playoffs. Hopefully we don't. I don't know. So far, I think if we look at the wild card week, I mean, you can't say that we did any better. Yeah, it was just. Yeah, I'll definitely add them up now that I have time.
Yeah, and we'll go through it next week. I know start of the season, Buffalo, Philly was my prediction. Obviously, Buffalo got bounced out. Philly's still in there, so I feel good about that. And I don't remember what your prediction was for the Super Bowl.
My prediction was Tampa Chiefs. And then I really like Cincinnati to coming out, and Cincinnati let me down. So I really don't have a Super Bowl pick that I would say, oh yeah, at least they made it. I thought that Joe Burrow was just playing at a different level. That's why I made my switch to the Bengals. But I don't want to say I go back to the Chiefs because I don't know how good Mahomes is going to be or it's going to be 100%. It's a high ankle sprain.
Supposedly, allegedly.
We know how Mac Jones acted with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's a high.
You thought he was shot.
Yeah, I don't think it's a high ankle sprain. There's no way he'd be able to like move, this week if it was a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, he was like limping, and I don't know. I mean, he put on a good facade for the cameras, and I know the NFL makes you write the injury report, and you have to say why the person is doubtful or questionable, why not. I don't know. It could be a high ankle sprain because that injury was ugly.
Yeah, well. Yeah,
the injury was ugly when it happened. So,
teams lie though, when it comes to that stuff.
Yes, they do.
So
you don't have to tell me about it. I know how that works. Yeah, so that's that for this week. Next week we'll have a Super Bowl pickup. And then we'll do afterwards, we'll do the free agent, which in March, right?
Yep.
Free agents in March. The draft is in April.
I think it might be May. The combine is in. Is the combine? No, I don't know. But I have to look up the dates.
We have to look up dates. But, I'll put it underneath below so you can sign up for our podcast, because the free agent and the draft, even though it's the start of season 3, we're going to do podcast only. And then we'll go back to putting all the shows back on YouTube. So with that said, anything you want to add, Ron?
No, I am a little bit excited though for this weekend. No football. I know that sounds strange, but I could use a little bit of a break before the Super Bowl. It just makes it more exciting. I won't be watching the Pro Bowl, that's for sure. But I'll just be taking a break from football this week, and then Super Bowl next week. Should be a huge show.
Yeah, and I'm a big Rihanna fan, so that halftime show I'm excited for. And then our wives, the commercials and the halftime.
Yeah.
At one point, let me just say this: Charlotte at least tried. She sat down to watch a little bit of the Kansas City-Cincinnati game. And then I think it was a 4th down that Kansas City went for, and they completed it. And she goes to me, "Oh, was it a touchdown?" And I just shook my head. I was like, "What are you watching? You might as well just say a home run or that was a dunk." I don't know. It was just at least she tries.
My wife doesn't try anymore.
Yeah, at least she was out there doing her best, and I was just shaking my head. Nope. Try again. On that note, I say peace.
Peace.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Any questions or comments, feel free to hit us up on shutyourmouthpodcast@gmail.com. That's shutympodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit us on Twitter or on Instagram at SYM Podcast. Thanks again.